How's it going, guys, and welcome to another character build in Gedonia. Today I'm going to be showing you my take on a assassin trapper sort of build, and I hope you guys like it. At the time of this build, the game is currently in early access version 0.83, so some skills and abilities might change upon full release. Also, 17 extra skill points are available from obelisks in the open world version of the game. My starting attributes for this assassin trapper are 2 strength, 4 agility, 1 intellect, and 0 charisma. I put 2 points in strength because I wanted to wear leather armor and also have a little bit of a boost in damage instead of putting the point somewhere else where I didn't really need it. I put 4 into agility because we're going to be dual wielding and doing a lot of range damage as well. So agility is a no-brainer. Plus assassin, you can do the double jump, which is like a really good perk of having 4 agility in this game. I put 1 in intellect so I can craft potions and poisons, and none in charisma because I didn't really see the need for it really. Anyway, let's get into the skills. Okay, for skills we have 15 in ferocity, 15 in combat mastery, 15 in blood magic, 15 in archery, 7 in banditry. So the skills I picked in ferocity are the rage ability, which gives you stacks of rage each time you hit with melee or range. So it really depends on what weapon you sort of have. So if you have one-handers, you get 1 stack of rage, so that boosts your damage up 0.5% each stack. We also have angry strike. So with this build with daggers, we'll have to build up 80 rage, and then we'll throw daggers, dealing around 200% damage and applying poisons, so 30 rage per strike. So that's a good one to have. Just sort of unleashes the rage and just does a bit of a bulk damage every now and then. Also the mastery skill, killing frenzy, and each stack of rage increases attack speed as well, so we can just do more and more damage, which is really good. Also picked up level 2 critical strike, just so we can get more crit chance. More crit with this build, the better, because we're using daggers. That's pretty much our bread and butter that we're going to be doing. Also melee damage level 5, just a flat base of our melee damage is increased by 15%. And also level 2 one-handers, just because we've got 2 daggers, so we need just to put our one-handed weapons up 10% more damage. So that's why we picked that. Right, next up is combat mastery. So we picked up level 3 dodge because we will be dodging a lot with this build as well. So to get out of harm's way, we'll be dodging, and then we get 100% crit for 4 seconds each time we dodge. So I picked dodge level 3. So every time we get a somewhat of a perfect dodge, we'll get 100% chance crit 4 seconds, which is really good. So with our build daggers, we need the crit. So we'll be doing bulk damage there. Also, we've got level 4 rend, just gives us a 20% chance to cause bleeding to our enemy. But with our poisons, our bleeds, we're going to be just doing a lot of damage over time and a lot of dodging, which will boost up our crit. So we'll be dealing a lot of damage. Also got a stun, just in case we run into a bit of trouble. We can stun an enemy and just sort of lay low for a bit and stay cool. Next up, we got piercing strikes level 2. So we'll apply trauma to the target. This will reduce their movement and attack speed by 20% for 15 seconds. And the chance increases the more armor piercing effect is applied. Next up, we got fencing level 4 just for the combo. And also we get the armor piercing effect with 100% chance. Next up, we have blood magic. So we want the blood element level 2. So this will just increase bloody attacks, so we have a bit of survivability with this build. We've also got Monk for Blood, so this will drain 10% of your health. And assign a mark of blood on the target, which will slowly deal damage, increase chance of the bloody attacks triggering by 15%. And also, while we're attacking this target, the damage we do is increased. So that's a good one to have. You can apply it from afar before the target is close to you in melee range. Next up, we've got Mad Attacks, one of my favorite abilities. Just performs a series of quick attacks, dealing 30% of damage per hit, and it also increases our bloody attacks triggering by 15%. So that's a good one to have too. Next up, we got Bloody Attacks level 3, one of the best abilities in the game. So each attack or range attack has a basic chance of 10% to restore 8% of our health. We can only do this 20 times per minute, which you'll probably take out. You should be able to take out a target in like 15 seconds or less with this build. So yeah, that's really good to have. A lot of survivability there. Next up, we have Hunger for Blood. So once we're surrounded, each enemy raises our attack and movement speed by 5%. So the more enemies around you, the faster you'll hit and the faster you'll move. So that's a good one to have. One, if you're surrounded, more damage you'll do, so more chance of bloody attacks triggering. Next up, we have Bloody Frenzy. This increases the chances of bloody attacks triggering by 20%. So we can just have more chance of survivability there. The higher the chance, the more it will proc. So it's a good one to have. Next up, we have Archery. So with Archery, I went down Exploding Arrow level 3. So this will stun the enemies while doing a lot of damage too. But there's a little trick I'll tell you in just a little bit that I like to do. So moving on to Frost Arrow. This will be like our freeze, our stun, our range stun ability. So we'll freeze enemies around and slow them down by 75% for 20 seconds. So pretty straightforward, just slow enemies down and stuff like that. So that's a good one to have. Next we have Rain of Arrows. So we can use this before we attack, just in a little group, and then fight within the Rain of Arrows, so we can be doing a bit of damage over time in an area. So this will create a Rain of Arrows. So you'll have a target on the ground that you can select, and this will do 25% of our ranged damage to all enemies in the radius. Next up, we have Multi-Shot. So we'll shoot 7 arrows instead of 1 on our next shot. So Multi-Shot's very interesting because you can put Exploding Arrow on Multi-Shot, so you can shoot 7 exploding arrows, or even Frost Arrows, so you can shoot 7 of them. So with Exploding Arrow, this does a lot of damage, a lot of potential for stuns, and it's a massive hit. It's a very hard hitter. I like to get up close and personal, pop Multi-Shot and Exploding Arrow, and just decimate the enemy. So that's a little tip I'm just going to give you, if you didn't know already. Next up, we just have Archery, level 5, just a flat out, just increases our range damage by 15%. I didn't pick anything else here because I'm pretty much going to be using the arrows in close range. So I don't really need accuracy or move while I'm shooting. I suppose you can pick up spare arrow if you're tight on arrows, like I usually am, but I thought I'd give it a miss. Focus on damage. But yeah, that's what I did there. In Banditry, since we're using daggers, multi-stab level 3 is a good one to have. So while we're using a dagger, we have a 75% chance to perform 2 hits instead of 1 while stabbing the target. So that's a good one to have. We have a chance to hit like a lot more. So that's a really good one to have. We also have Shadow Dance. So we'll step into the shadow and we'll damage enemies, all enemies nearby, but we need 2 daggers to do it. So this is like a bit of an AoE sort of ability that we can do, which is really good. We also have Vanish. So when we're in combat, we can just sort of vanish into stealth and then sort of take a break, assess the situation, just see what needs to be done. Next up, we have Apply Poison. So this increases damage of our poisons. Pretty straightforward, really. So next up, we have Trap level 2. This will just put a trap on the ground, and also it just reduces the cooldown of our trap. So it'll stun the enemy if he can be stunned. If it can't, well, then it just sort of ignores it. Next up, we have Backstabbing Shadow. So this will be after we use Shadow Step. We can use Backstab 1 time per 10 seconds if not in stealth. And that goes on to our next ability, our mastery skills, Shadow Step. So if we use attack and jump, we'll teleport behind the current target, and then that's when we can use backstabs. And of course, next up, we've got backstabbing. The first attack from stealth will have 150% increased damage Daggers have 350 increased damage. So that's why we are going to be using daggers. So we can use shadow step and then backstab. So that's good to have. Also, we have stealth level 3. So this will put us in sneak, and level 3 will really boost up our stealthiness so enemies won't see us. And also the agility stat decreases chances of being spotted. So that's a good one to have too. All right, let's see how this build goes in combat. And then you have it, my take on the Assassin Trapper. So with this build, I reckon it can do some major damage really quick. I didn't even have poisons on. Like you're doing so much bleed damage, so much crit, and then you apply poisons to that mix, and then you'll just rip apart anything that stands in your way. Plus that little explosive and multi-shot combo that can just rip apart groups of enemies with ease. All in all, I think this is a really good build, and it has so much flexibility with this build as well. And it's a really fun build to play, especially when you can like double jump whenever you want. You got shadow step, vanish, stealth. It's a very fun build to play. But what do you guys think? Anyway guys, that's going to do it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed this build, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. All right guys, take care.